Good morning, everybody. We are now in the hotel in Thailand. I just want to do this little video to explain the process of going through the PCR test when you arrive in Phuket. When I was looking myself for things, there was people talking about you have to do it, but not really explaining the process when you come through the airport. So we arrived on the plane. We left the plane, it came into the airport, and then we all took and sat in seats which were all spaced out at 2 meters apart, and then when we all got sat down, there was people come round in suits with masks on, asked everybody for the paperwork. So we needed to produce our clear PCR test from the UK. We needed to produce our Thailand pass, and we also needed to give them our passport. And they took the paperwork from us, and then when they put it all together in an orderly fashion for us to do that, we had to show them proof of the booking for the PCR in Thailand. They put it all together, and then you got took to a desk. The person at the desk took the paperwork from us, and then when they took the paperwork from us, he done some checks with it, and they kept a hold of the certificate which was taken in the UK. Then we were given some other paperwork which we had to take to immigration, and they put a stamp in the passport. Off memory, it's DD7 or something. They put something in the passport to say that you'd been to the check-in point. And then we came up to immigration. Myself personally, I've got a 2-month visa, so I had to sort through the visa with them. They checked all the paperwork that I needed again to enter the country with the COVID conditions. Then they processed me visa, stamped me passport, and then we were allowed to go and collect our baggage. We came through from collecting the baggage, and then we went down into an area where we were led through to where they were going to do the PCR tests. So when we got there, we needed to show people the paperwork again, and then we were asked to sit down and go in order into small cubicles where there was a woman in a suit inside of a plastic box. I can only describe it of, made of perspex, with gloves coming through the front, and she was the person that took the swab. They took a swab, and when we were given the paperwork at the beginning, they gave us a little test tube which contained some pink liquid. When we went down to get the test done, they only done the nasal test. It doesn't go down your throat, up both parts of your nose, and then they put this into the tube, and it was sent away, and we were given the details to go out to get our taxi and then taken to the hotel. Now, I'm personally in a SHA Plus hotel. When we arrived at the hotel, they asked us for details pretty much the same as what had been asked for our booking for the PCR and stuff like that. I just wanted to prove. And then when they done the test also, they put a little sticker on your shirt saying that you'd been swabbed before you left the airport. So when we got to the hotel, they basically told us that we needed to stay in our room until we received the results, and the results would be there within 68 hours. In the airport, we were given a small piece of paper with a QR code on, which gave us the details for where we would receive our result from the PCR test. Happily enough, the test come back negative, so now I'm able to do what I need to do within the next 5 days but unfortunately we can't leave Phuket Island until I've received the thing. That's simply because I'm booked into a hotel in Thailand, in Phuket for 7 days. So I could change need testing place from Phuket to wherever, but from what I understand, the way they were talking, we need to stay on the island. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know, but that's what they said to us. So this morning we received the results. It took about, I would say, about seven hours or something, 7.5 hours. Then we received the results, and then we went to the reception, and the reception has printed off a copy of the results. So I've got paperwork, which I would recommend people doing. When you come into Thailand here, don't rely on showing stuff on your phone, because they're looking for paperwork. Print everything off that you've got and have it all in an orderly fashion, so that when they ask for something you can hand it to them, because it's quite a lengthy process doing the paperwork. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it's a process where you need to be organised a little bit, because there's queues of people, and obviously when people are not organised, it just delays the time for you getting yourself out that airport. But anyway, so this morning we're getting up, got our results. I've been and seen the receptionist this morning. Now I had my second PCR test, which is on the 5th day, booked at Coron Beach, and I've spoke to them this morning in the reception, and they've changed it for us to do one which is more local, which you can do if once you're here, you can change it to wherever you need to, wherever you're local. So if I was to say the process, I would say it's not too bad. It was quicker than I expected. They were quite organised, and it was quite orderly the way that they process people going through. If you've ever been in Bangkok and gone to the immigration, it was a lot quicker than the process that they had, where people were queuing and queuing and queuing. It wasn't too bad, but the main thing I would say from it, make sure you're organised, make sure you have your paperwork all printed off. And there's another thing which you need to make sure, that when you have done your PCR test in England, make sure it has PCR wrote on it, and make sure that it has the time the test was taken, because them are the two things that they asked me when I got my PCR test. It came in 3 sheets of paper. The certificate was at the rear of those 3 bits of paper. So when they picked them up, because the front sheet didn't have a time on, they start asking us, what time did I do the test? There's no evidence of doing the test. And I said, well, the certificate's at the back, it's on the certificate. So as soon as they seen that, then they were fine. But from what I understand, if the time isn't on, they will not accept it. If it hasn't got PCR wrote on it, they will not accept it. I've seen a case this morning of a horror story, which I'm not going to in this video. Basically, I just want to give people an idea on what the process is like for going through the airport, because when I was travelling out here, I looked for stuff, for people explaining through the process. There is the odd video, but it isn't going into much detail of what happens. So as I say, the main thing is make sure you've got your paperwork in order, everything that you need all printed off, because if you're relying on putting stuff on your phone, I've seen people who are having problems, you know. So just make sure you print everything off. I hope this is a help to somebody, and it makes the process easier for it. But it's not too bad. I would say I've done a lot worse coming into Thailand, as I've been travelling to Thailand for nearly 20 years now. So I wouldn't worry too much if you come, and just make sure everything's organised. Anyway, I hope everybody's well, and thanks for watching the videos. If you'd like to share any video and get people to subscribe, I would appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much now.